Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather and Smash Lights segment. I'm your host Dan, aka Smashamash. We're looking at the sun right now in 131 angstroms. We've seen coronal mass ejections, some great cosmology information, some new composite images of things like Eta Carinae, and some other massive objects out there. We also see coronal mass ejections imminent. Let's talk about it. First, we're going to look at the fields. And we don't see very much magnetic organization and zero sunspots. There are still some filaments waiting to erupt, and it's actually an ongoing process as we make the live stream today. Here's a composite image showing you 171 angstroms as well as the colorized magnetogram. And you can see some evidence of coronal mass ejection over here on the western limb. There was indeed some blasted out. We'll show you some custom videos in a minute. Here's one of those custom movies, and we do have some missing data here in the LASCO C2 and C3, but you can clearly see quite a bit of ejecta, especially coming out of the western limb. Some of that ejecta is likely to be Earth-facing, although we do see two separate coronal mass ejections. This one here and this one don't look like they're really the same ejection, but it's really tough to tell, as that is a bright object. Anyway, we've got some more custom videos for you here. Here's a 304 angstroms, and you can see that active region setting. Again, there's still a bunch of plasma filaments in between the Earth and the Sun, and there is a more coronal mass ejection on the way. We'll have to wait until later today to figure out if it's Earth-facing or not, although it is in the vicinity. There's 171 angstroms in that same area, the northwestern quadrant, and a good view of the North Pole coronal hole region also. And let's take a look at some more data here. First, let me check the life of the stream, and we are looking good. I just wanted to bring up the thermosphere for a quick moment. If you look at the last solar minimum featured a colder thermosphere than the current solar minimum. You can see that's actually the lowest ever measured for the thermosphere index. Thermosphere being the highest altitude of atmosphere on the planet. The closest part of the atmosphere to the sun, really, you could say it's the most directly affected. So there's 2 points about this. One, this was a lower thermosphere reading than the current solar minimum. Two, the current thermosphere environment is a downward trend. Now we're expecting to see this come up as the next solar cycle kicks in. And welcome to cycle 25. There's the historic graph measuring back to 1940. Actually showing 1940, it probably starts about 1950. And you can see, of course, this is somewhat proportional to solar cycles as well. Another item proportional to solar cycles is the 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which is still at 70. And there you can see the last 3.5 years or so of the 10.7 centimeter radial flux progression. The KP index is at 1, and we see a pretty weak geospace right now. We'll show you in a minute. We don't see any solar flaring. There's the graph showing the X-ray flux for the past 3 days. Here's the proton flux, also flatlined, although we're showing this now as solar activity increases. Next, to look at the real-time solar wind. We see a recent uptick in the solar wind density. While the solar wind speed remained relatively flat, looks like another incoming coronal hole wind stream as far as the data is showing. So when we see this level off for the density, we expect to see the solar wind speed jump back up again. Current phi angle at 169 degrees. Current solar wind density 7.26 protons per cubic centimeter. Current solar wind density 7.26 protons per cubic centimeter. Current solar wind velocity 323 kilometers per second. Here's the geospace magnetosphere movie. And again, pretty weak solar wind. We may see a little uptick in the bow shock region pressure toward the end with that small uptick in solar wind. So look for a small increase there in the pressure. Just in the final bit of the video. Just a tiny little increase there. Nothing to write home about in the geospace. Here are the ground magnetic perturbations, and since we're living a polar excursion, we show this daily, as we're interested to see any sort of anomalous magnetic perturbations. Keep in mind, this is only measuring changes in the B field, not raw measurements, which is why it is listed as delta B nanotesla. So the change in the magnetic field is what's being measured here, not a raw data measurement. This, like the last slide, this is 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. If you weren't aware, new viewers, we've got 2 North Poles, one over northern Canada, one over Siberia, and the South Pole has left the Antarctic continent far away from the geographic South Pole. Now it's in the southern Indian Ocean. We've got major power outages. The entire Pacific coast has power outages. Over 100,000 in Washington, nearly 150,000 in Oregon, 41,000 in California, nearly 50,000 in Idaho. Ohio and Louisiana also experiencing power outages. Let's go back to space. The GOES magnetometer is looking pretty spiky here, and we're still in sort of an indecisive magnetic moment, I think. Let's check the gong too to make sure. Here's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And we are not solidly in the North Pole current sheet. Although, if I had to guess, I would say we'll remain in the North Pole. Shown here in green. That's the latest slide, and you can see some indecision here at stereo A also, as it shows 2 potential field force lines. And I think we'll see a little smoother GOES magnetometer over the next 24 hours. Keep in mind, the magnetic environment can suddenly change with no warning. The data is 1 hour and 17 minutes old. Here's a line of sight field plot, which also shows you the B field in blue. The B field is the field that goes through a magnet, not to be confused with the poloidal fields. The poloidal fields shown here in green and red, the north solar polar fields. Next, one of my favorites, the coronal hole magnetic field potential field force plot. And keep in mind, this is showing a couple of weeks here. It's showing you more data than the last one. I just like the graphic. And welcome to another edition of the Smash Lights, where I do things like vanish, and then I talk about whatever I want. Such as the forum. Have you been to smashamash.com/forum? Well, go sign up. Write yourself a topic thread, and we'll all converse with you. It's designed to run itself, and that's why I'm not involved every day, but as the weather gets colder, we'll be doing more and more stuff at smashamash.com/forum. One of the things we've done is listed our mission. If you want to read about it, smashamash.com/forum/mission. Here it is. It's to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects, to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, hence videos like this one, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including but not limited to the science listed before you, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomena in order to optimize value, reduce risk and liability, and save lives and resources and adapt, no matter what the adversity is. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. So let's talk about adapting no matter what the adversity is. We would like our viewers to be
impregnable
to any of the sort of stuff that we cover, and we cover a lot of different subjects, especially during the Smash Light segment. By the way, that's the word of the day at Merriam-Webster. Dear viewer, please be
impregnable,
meaning incapable of being taken by assault, unconquerable, unassailable, or perhaps impenetrable if you prefer. Let's talk about something that's imminent, more coronal mass ejection. As we showed you in the stereo A view, there is more coronal mass ejection to follow. Actually, here's the stereo A view. And you can see this sudden building right here. That will not sustain itself in the corona. That will be blasted out throughout the day today. If you're watching only the Smash Lights, if you're on BitChute, you'll only see the Smash Light if you want to see the Daily Space Weather video. Today's Daily Space Weather video is a YouTube and Twitch exclusive. Let's talk about the gender reveal party in California that sparked a raging wildfire, consuming millions of acres, about 7.4 million. A smoke-generating pyrotechnic device used at a gender reveal party was the source of the El Dorado fire in California. It adds to a series of dangerous wildfires. If you're wondering what a gender reveal party is, well, it might not be as weird as you may think. A gender reveal party is basically just a baby shower. Except it's the same, only different. As typically women only go to baby showers, and because of things like gender dysphoria and gender dysmorphia and gender. Now I'm Sherbet gender, so I don't know if I'd be invited or not. Perhaps don't use pyrotechnic devices around a bunch of dry brush during red flag warnings and heavy winds at your gender reveal parties. Now, again, as I've stated, we are on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Smashomash. And we don't want to scare you too much, but we like to do the videos live. And I try not to rage too much either. If you enjoy the content, press like and subscribe on YouTube. We are also on BitChute. Thanks to our subscribers over there. BitChute.com/Smashomash. And let's talk about the COVID. Now, I'm scared and spooked. Are you scared and spooked? Let me put this out, because we don't want to burn my new COVID hat. What do you think? I think it looks amazing. It's my COVID-19 fro, and indeed it is made in China. Now, if you haven't learned how to say China, actors and singers, we project our voices from deep within our loins. When you want to say China, you want to project your voice from only the top half of your face. So pronounce it with a D instead of an N. China, China, China. It's made in China, China. Now, Joe Biden's agenda's made in China, but it turns out that he may have come to his senses a little bit. Who would have thunk it? He's walked back his national mask mandate, admits it would probably be unconstitutional. So thanks, theblaze.com, Glenn Beck and company. Drop me a line. Drop me a line and a job offer, please, as I'm experiencing technical difficulties here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Now, if you remember, back on August 13th, No Malarkey Joe said, every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum. Let's institute a mask mandate nationwide starting immediately, and we will save lives. Why? I think it's because he's a Covidiot. But in any case, Kamala Harris eagerly approved. That's what real leadership looks like, Kamala said on the same day. We just witnessed real leadership. I don't know what the hell she's talking about, but in any case, turns out, according to Alex Marlow at least, Joe Biden has rolled back his dumb idea about national mask mandates, citing the fact that, here we go, I've said I will set an example, and I will show up and make sure I'm setting an example of the way in which we should deal with this coronavirus, social distancing and the like. And we're going to be doing a lot of that from now on through the election. But I'm going to listen to what scientists and... In other words, he can't compose a sentence. Congratulations, Joe Biden, on riding Obama's coattails into obscurity, a la Hillary Clinton. Now, if you haven't checked out smashamash.org, please do. We might help you to get rid of that at smashamash.org. You can link to the stores and to our affiliate link. Perhaps check that out if you haven't. smashamash.com/affiliate. It's got a bunch of links to Amazon products which we endorse and use ourselves. We don't advertise anything we don't use. So perhaps you'd like to pick up a pair of shark socks or a hazmat suit, or perhaps the bag that I use for my bio bug-out bag, where I store things like, my hazmat suit. Yeah, that's right. Or perhaps you're in the market for a thumb drive. Yes, we're going to talk about installing Linux on a thumb drive. In fact, that specific thumb drive. It's waterproof and it's got this metal keychain. It's fantastic. It's on my keychain right now, folks. Also, I like to keep my hair smelling great with Garnier Fructis, just in case Joe Biden shows up to sniff the back of my head. Now, I'm not a woman, so obviously, I don't know. I'm Sherbet gender. I don't know if that qualifies me or not. Let's talk about the forum once again. Smashamash.com/forum. Were you aware that it's crucial to go outside? It's crucial to your health, even during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's what we were talking about on April 12th. So if you want to see a timeline that was not altered and redacted and all screwed up and censored since the articles got posted, we've also got some commentary. Apparently on April 11th, North Korea was calling for tougher virus curbs, and yet Kim Jong-un wore no masks. Let's see what I was saying on the next day. By October 13th, not October 13th, April 13th, turns out COVID-19 patients needed oxygen therapy, a hyperbaric chamber, not a ventilator, since ventilators were killing people. Watch out for going to hospitals. They'll kill you in there. I'm not kidding. My grandmother was a nurse, and she's the one who taught me that doctors bury their mistakes. Talking about mistakes, trying to raise the trying to raise the minimum wage is a mistake. If you don't follow the hashtag #MummifyBernie on places like Facebook, Minds, etc., perhaps Twitter as well, check it out, hashtag #MummifyBernie. Because who cares if a $15 per hour minimum wage increases the unemployment over there? The government will take care of you, right? Because the government's been so effective. If you don't follow us on Facebook, you may not know that it's time to join revolution, because nothing is more revolutionary than stumping for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. Let's talk about Bernie's endorsements. Bernie's endorsed some ultra-left candidate, this guy here. I'll draw a heart around his head. Bernie hearts this guy, and he doesn't like this guy. Now, they're both Democrats, but this guy's ultra-left. Now, one thing is, he does cite one actual important factor, and I like it, because he said that his vision for New Hampshire is one where children can have a quality education no matter where they live. All right, I'll back that up. Where seniors are not forced out of their homes because they cannot pay their property taxes. Now that sounds fantastic. And part of Trump's platform was to eliminate property taxes. If that would happen, that would be a big thumbs up, by the way. Property taxes, one of the most crooked things in the entire country, where you get to pay off your mortgage and then you get to rent your property from a local municipality, in effect. But in any case, the New Hampshire governor's race has heated up with Andrew Volinsky, the Bernie Sanders-backed candidate, who's running to the left of Senate Majority Leader Dan Feltes. Yowzers. If there's anything you need, it's a more left New England. Were you aware that Russian scientists predicted increased unrest in the U.S. 10 years ago? Why? Well, it's a bunch of math associated with things like civil unrest, wealth inequality, etc. And once again, I would cite the fact that people like Bernie Sanders are correct in a lot of their problems. It's just that their solutions would actually be worse. If you want to read about cliodynamics, it's all over the science web. And this one's on eurekalert.com. Let's talk about zombie hunting. Now that right there is an airsoft gun. You can see right here it says caliber 6mm BB. In other words, it's an airsoft gun, not a real gun. It's got an orange plug on the front and it says zombie hunter. Well, this kid right here has been suspended. It's Isaiah Elliott. Why? Because while doing an online art class, apparently this horrifyingly spooky and scary weapon, so scary I had to vanish, was seen on the screen, and he's a little bit distracted. The main problem was that he was distracted during the art class, but it turns out that now he's been suspended, and the police showed up at his house for a welfare check because of this scary and spooky gun. Stop the madness, schools. Stop the madness. Somehow I don't think that's an abusive process, in my opinion. Sending the police to go check the kid out because he had an airsoft gun. Oh my gosh, it's so scary and spooky. Let's talk cosmology, as it is an interesting day for cosmology. There's a great article here that we're going to cover. A great article we're going to cover here from SciTech Daily. Today's featured object is Eta Carinae. Now, it's at least a binary system, and it hit the news back in the late 17th century. Yes, in 1827. 19th century. In 1827, it suddenly brightened, and it became the second brightest object in the sky. The second brightest star in the sky, rather. And anyway, it's quite a weird system, and it's got this crazy homunculus nebula around it. If you want to follow the transients of it, they are followed at the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. Just type in Control F, type in Eta Car, and there you have it. There are the X-ray transients from Eta Carinae. And again, there's at least 2 stars in there, and they're very, very large. Here's a zoom in from Simbad on that system. And again, it's quite an interesting zone in there. The Homunculus Nebula, Eta Carinae, one of the larger and crazier objects. By the way, thanks to our subscribe stars and to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content, please consider becoming a patron. We've got some more wonderful high-res images of some objects, some composites, etc. Again, please consider becoming a patron, the true source of funding for the content, as we make about 2 cents per hour based on YouTube revenue. We're aware that they show you advertisements. We're just also aware that our content must be massively throttled. I don't know. Although we haven't had any videos being demonetized lately, we've been stagnating around 1,600 subscribers for over a year now. So thanks again to our patrons. There are 9 tiers over there. Patreon.com/smashamash. If you want to hear about it first, head to patreon.com/smashamash and open up your cobweb-encrusted wallet. Send us a couple bucks per month in one of our 9 tiers. And today's Smashlight segment is complete. Survey said. I don't know why I'm always set up for failure on this channel. Treasure trove of cosmic delights revealed by NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. And we've got a whole bunch of composite images here. I'm just going to let it scroll down slowly to give you all a view of it. So we've got all kinds of different space telescopes. First, we're looking at M82. Messier Catalog Object M82 is an edge-on galaxy. which gives us a great view of the poloidal jets, which come out like this. And I've exaggerated them. They're more like beams, especially from such a great distance. M80, M82. Next, Able 2744, which is arguably the largest known object in the universe. It's a massive galaxy cluster. And it's got, you know, billions of suns worth of mass in there, and it's gravitationally bound or something like that, as they appear to be orbiting each other somewhat. Supernova 1987A, part of the Large Magellanic Cloud, from the very famous supernova eruption of 1987, which was, I believe, February 24th. There's Eta Carinae, and this is a composite image. It includes ultraviolet, optical, and X-ray. Great image there of Eta Carinae. Please leave a comment if you have a theory as to how many stars are in there. I think at least 2. Here's a Cartwheel galaxy, and you see some crazy X-ray emissions there as the rim of the wheel and these spoke-like features. It's quite interesting. The Cartwheel galaxy. The Helix Nebula is the last one on the list, and it appears to show multiple noval shells around a star. This one is ultraviolet, X-ray, and optical, all in the same image. If you want to see the article, it's on SciTech Daily. Probably my favorite science publication. I read it daily. And here ends another episode of the Smashlights. Let's get back to some other spaced out type of stuff. There's the 1-year graph of the relativistic electron flux, and we're still at very high levels. We just crossed into storm levels while I did show prep. There's the current state of affairs. And we just leveled out there. Here's the current charging hazard environment. Not a lot of charging hazards, minor ones in the southern hemisphere. Here's the total electron content forecast, and we see a little bit of anomalies here, a little bit of high levels of nighttime electron flux. So you see some anomalous GPS errors probably happening there around the equator even at nighttime. Otherwise, not super high levels here. As we reached in the last peak, we were at about 30, actually I think we reached about 40 times the warning level. We were at about, I think we were at about 39,000 pulse flux units, and now we're at more like 1,200, I think. There's the forecast. They're expecting a ramp down in the electron flux, and I would tend to agree, as it looks like we're getting struck by a coronal hole wind stream. Here's 24 hours of one slice of the atmosphere, just the ionosphere. And it's looking a little anomalous here. So we're seeing big charge ups well ahead of the sun in the southern hemisphere there at the beginning of the movie. Otherwise, not too crazy. Here's the latest image. That one's at 9 o'clock Universal Time. Looking pretty normal there, actually, on that last frame. Next, we're going to look at a diagram of where stuff is in the solar system. First, I want to check the stream. And we are good to go. Here's where stuff is now. There's where stuff will be in a week, approaching another new moon. My favorite phase. I like to know what's going on above my head. If you're up before dawn, you might be able to see Mars, the Moon, and Venus. And you might be able to see the most intrinsically bright object in the entire Milky Way galaxy, also Deneb, the tail of the swan, otherwise known as Cygnus X3, a massive X-ray binary with one of its poloidal jets pointed directly at you. Yes, one of the only known point sources for cosmic ray flux. Next, looking at the last 24 of earthquakes. I don't think we saw anything over a 6 magnitude. Let's scroll up the list to first reveal a 4.5 at over 150 kilometers depth near Vanuatu. Another deep quake north of Australia at Timor-Leste, 4.6 magnitude at 171 kilometers depth. And we're just going to scroll up the list. We don't want the video to be too long. A 4.4 at Tajikistan. That one's at depth 162 kilometers. And the largest quake of the past 24, I believe, was a 5.9 and at over 170 kilometers depth. So a bunch of deep quakes kicking off here. Here's an ultra shallow quake at California. Let's see where that one's located. It's 500 meters above sea level. And there's a location of that near Mono Lake, near the Nevada-California border, east of Mono Lake. Please leave a comment if you felt that quake. It was only a 2.9 magnitude, but it was at 500 meters above sea level. As I talk in a stilted fashion, and I talk about volcanoes next. This is not the top 100. This is not Casey Kasem. Volcanoes of the past 24 hours included Semeru. Located on Indonesia, it's producing a 14,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Sabancaya also explodes. 21,000-foot ash plume there. Revenador also explodes. 14,000-foot ash plume there. Sabancaya exploding as well. 24,000-foot ash plume there. And Copahu, don't cop a feel of Copahu, located down in Chile and Argentina, must be on the border. We're unable to detect volcanic ash clouds. Please do not attempt to fly your hang glider over the caldera, because we need the views on YouTube. Next, looking at the weather.gov map and talk about some serious winter weather. We're hardly 1 week into September, and we've got the entire state of Wyoming and Colorado are going to be almost completely covered with snow, and the GFS forecast has now increased to about 4 feet of snow in south central Colorado. All kinds of freeze warnings, as well as winter storm warnings. There you go. There's going to be some early ends to some farming in a lot of those areas. And here's the forecast from Tropical Tidbits, and check it out. Now showing about 4 feet. That's about 40 inches of snow it's showing there, folks. And that is through 6 o'clock Universal Time on Thursday. So by this time Thursday morning, that's the forecasted state of affairs according to the GFS forecast. That's only 2 days away, and that forecast is not so far out that it could be wrong. It's most likely right. 4 feet of snow approximately forecasted for south central Colorado. The entire state of Colorado and Wyoming should be covered with snow. Here's the current state of affairs, and I'm going to play the forecast here on windy.com. This is the snow depth. And let's see what windy.com has to say about it. It's looking like it's going to get pretty serious. There's where things will be at 1 o'clock my time. Quite a bit of snow forecasted there. And I don't know if I can drop a marker. Let's move on. That was enough meteorology stuff about that. Let's look at lightning here at lightningmaps.org. It's where I go when I hear thunder. Hey, Gary, Indiana, there's thunder rolling in. Next time you hear thunder, head to lightningmaps.org and convince your foes that you're Thor, or perhaps convince your friends that you're Odin, or something like that. Here's where the water vapor situation is in Europe and Africa. Water vapor situation for the Far East and Oceania. And we've got a massive dry high. It's a dry high over northern Australia. Here's the water vapor situation for the Americas. Massive anticyclone here over the South Pacific. You can see it's got a counterclockwise rotation, as you see for high pressure systems in the southern hemisphere. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map, and you can see heavy snow across most of Wyoming. It's only September 8th, folks. Apparently it's so hot that it's cold. As we see record snowfall 3 winters in a row. Let's see if we see a 4th. I'm going to say not. And here's the water vapor environment for the U.S. We're going to zoom in on the Central Rockies here. We've got a couple more slides to show you here, a couple more images of the sun, and then we are out. Anyway, some massive pressure gradients here, as well as this barrier here. It's going to be holding in all that moisture, as that massive air will not get out of the way of that moisture. And cold air is being injected from British Columbia. Here's the jet streams of the eastern world. Extreme meridional jet stream flow. Here are the jets of the west. And again, you can see the way the jet stream is dipping down, pulling some major cold jets down into the U.S. And that is what makes for heavy storms, folks. Hey, Smash team, thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to share the content on your social media. By the way, if you'd like to become part of the Smash team, perhaps do so by purchasing yourself a "Google is a scam and not a verb" shirt, which also includes our website, smashomash.org. You can link to it on there. Please do. And thanks for flying American Smashways, as it's time for me to vanish. And please advise you to please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times, since we've got bonus features, such as a 48-hour 94 angstroms SDO video, the solar colorized magnetogram. An interesting area there in the northeast. Doesn't look like a sunspot, and neither does this area down here. So likely to show you 0 sunspots. Here's the intensity gram to verify that. I don't see any ombre, do you? No ombre to be seen. Here's the 94 angstroms view. It's 48 hours from the SDO. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Anyway, we'll be coming at you soon with new content. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Smashomash.org